Hello and welcome back to the Language of Kings. Now, for this episode, we're going to talk about a very unique equation that I found quite useful quite a while back. I found it on TikTok, but I just can't seem to find the video. But this was the foundation of what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, and it's one of the most foundational principles that I found to be quite effective and useful when it comes to turning around your life. Now, just to give you a quick recap and just kind of to build up on this equation, a couple of things that I'd like to just to share with you how about how I understood this equation and how it kind of made sense of it all, how you can make sense of it all. And so the first thing that you find is that now knowledge alone isn't enough. You see, there are libraries. People don't even go to libraries these days, but there are libraries that are full of information. The internet itself is full of a ton of information as it is right now. You can search about anything. If you want to learn about quantum physics, you can learn about it. If you want to learn about nanotechnology, you can just Google it and learn about it. If you want to learn about rocket science, you can learn about it. If you want to build your own satellite, provided you have the funds, you can actually learn about it online. And so the internet is full of information. So basically, the internet is a knowledge hub, an encyclopedia where everything and anything that the world has ever learned or has ever done is recorded therein. However, you find that there are people who are still, even with that information, and even with access, the level of accessibility to that information that we have, that you only cost just a few dollars a month just to get access to the internet on your phone just regularly. Even with all that information, there are still people who still can't figure out how to make something of themselves. You can't figure out what to do with themselves. And so you find that knowledge on its own or knowledge alone isn't enough. And so you find there are a ton of videos and a ton of ebooks and books and guides and downloadables and courses and whatnot. But you find that it does not affect the right kind of change and people's lives aren't really impacted. And so you find that knowledge alone isn't enough. But it is important. Yes, it is a foundation. Yes, but alone or by itself, it is not enough. And so you find one of the first things one of the main reasons why I got into the business of creating an expert business was because it was about the skillful, and I mentioned this in the earlier episodes, it was about the skillful application of knowledge or that information. That is what can change lives or have an impact on the lives of people. And so the reason the skillful application of knowledge there, well, it translates into something quite different. It's like a metamorphosis. It's like a metamorphosis of the information, thereby you can think of the knowledge as an ingredient of baking a cake. And so you've got your flour, you've got your sugar, you've got all these other things you want to put together to bake a cake. But in itself alone, individually, it doesn't have that much taste, it doesn't have that much flavor. But it's only when you take it through an oven and then you bake it that it comes out as a flavorful or a tasty chocolate cake or whatever it is that you like. And so, and now when that cake has been baked, now the final product thereof is what we call value. So knowledge on itself is not enough. But however, you need to be able to translate that knowledge to becoming value. Now, to do that, there's one equation that you need to master. It's a very simple equation. And this is the equation that I learned about in TikTok. I changed my whole outlook of my own perception of what it is that is stopping me from becoming the person that I want to become, or the reason why I'm not where I want to be in life. Now, the equation here is knowledge plus time equals to value. Now, in the previous episodes, we talked about knowledge. We talked about how important knowledge is, kind of how to get this information, how to quickly acquire information fast. And we talked about all these different aspects of knowledge. And, you could just stay on for on and on and on about that topic. But I just give you a quick overview of how I understood the basic foundational principle of knowledge when it comes to becoming an expert or choosing an expert niche. So we cover the why and the where you can get this information and the how to actually read this information. And this is all to just develop the pool or the body of knowledge that you have in your own mindset. So basically, you're like building a library, and the library here is in your mind. So that's why you're acquiring different sets of knowledge. However, knowledge on its own is not enough. And so that's why the equation knowledge plus time. And so you find the role of time here is, now I want to use a very cliche saying that goes about that Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, neither were the big cities that we see today built in one day. You just wake up tomorrow and then you just find there's New York or there's London and whatnot. It took time to develop these things, and the development of a city kind of also illustrates the kind of the level of the body of knowledge that is available in that city. And so if you find highly industrious areas and you find the people there in highly innovative minds, whereby they have a lot of, like Silicon Valley is one of the tech centers or the tech brains of the new world when it comes to the digital world. And so you find, so like a city is that same example. And so you find like the city of Rome wasn't built in a single day. And so you find that the role of time is, first of all, is test your knowledge. It allows you to build up your body of knowledge because you can't read 1,000 books in one sitting, even one evening, and even remember all of them. Even if you could, you would even remember all of them. And as soon as tomorrow, the day after, that information will be all gone. And so you need some level of time to be able to develop. So there is no way like you can plant a tree and it will grow in a single day. It doesn't. So you need to allow for time. And so that is the main kind of principle you need to understand here. So knowledge alone is not enough. And so you need knowledge plus time. Now, one of the reasons why time is important is because first of all, as you mentioned, it tests your knowledge. And how it does that is because it finds out, given enough time, you can find out how useful a piece of knowledge or a piece of information is. You can find out, you know, determine its practicality or how effective it is, whether it is a hit or it's a miss. You know, it allows you, time gives you the opportunity to kind of sum up and to develop and to collect, so to speak, or to gather up bits and pieces of practicalities or, you know, some of the things that you found that are effective. And this can be summed up as your experience or the application. So you find that one of the goals of time is, first of all, test your knowledge, test how effective, how useful that information is. And as you continue to apply that information, it gives you what we call experience. And so you can be able to find out what works and what doesn't work after multiple tests. And so you're basically in a laboratory somewhere and you're testing what you found out to work or what not doesn't work. And so, for instance, there's some of the things that I've been sharing with you. If you've been testing it out, you find out, okay, so maybe this one works, this one doesn't work. So you find out what you can keep and what you can discard. And so that's kind of the role of time. Another thing that time does, it gives you understanding. When you sit on a topic and you continue to apply it and do its practicals and kind of use it in your day-to-day life, or you try to kind of make sense of it all, what happens is you develop an understanding of that particular subject area, but you have to be given enough time. That's why some topics, when you talk the first day, they don't sink in quite easily. But if you stay with it for like 1 or 2 weeks or maybe a couple of days, depending on how intelligent you are, so to speak, you're able to kind of make sense of it. And this is where you get understanding. And understanding kind of gives life to whatever it is that the knowledge that you've already acquired. And so initially it will take you more time to acquire knowledge. However, it will take you even less time when you start applying that knowledge to solve a problem. And so that's kind of like the foundational principles of the knowledge plus time equation. And this can be summed up in a very unique example that I saw a few years ago, where it talks about a boat engineer. I'm not sure what they call a marine engineer, I think. He was called by a company to fix a certain vessel, and they couldn't figure out what the problem was with the vessel, but it couldn't be released to go into the waters. And so the guy came, he looked around for like 30 minutes, and then he found a specific spot, and then he used a hammer and hit it, and so it only took him and hit that particular spot with the hammer. And when he did so, the vessel now could work properly as it was supposed to work, and it was safe to go through the waters. And I charged them about, I don't remember how much it was, maybe about $10,000 or maybe $20,000 or about something in that range, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars just to fix that minor issue that only took him 5 minutes. And then they asked him and then the guy was kind of supervising him or managing him. He asked him, how come you charge so expensively for just 5 minutes? And the guy told him, you're not paying me for the time. You're not paying me for the 5 minutes that I took. You're paying me for the 30 years that I spent learning. And those 30 years is what allowed me. Those 30 years are what allowed me to be able to find out exactly the spot that I'm supposed to hit to make it work. And so this is what it does when you have knowledge at plus time. And so the reason why he could be able to charge that much was because he had spent a significant amount of time developing himself, learning a skill, perfecting his process, understanding the underlying principles of what makes a vessel work, of the different parts of marine engineering that allowed him to be able to charge that amount of money, even though it took him just a few minutes. And so the main principle here is that, so initially it will take you a lot of time to acquire knowledge, but it will take you even less time to apply that knowledge or to use that knowledge to solve a problem. And that in itself is what builds up your value system or becomes your value. Because understand this, right now we quantify value with money. And so the more valuable something is, the more worth it is in terms of the more monetary value it has. For instance, it takes a diamond millions of years to develop, and usually goes through a process of hard pressure and just a lot of heat and pressure. And that's what makes it so valuable, because it took a long time. You cannot reproduce it in a single day. Even when you compare to lab-made diamonds, they don't cost as much as just as natural occurring diamonds do, because of the process. You cannot discount the process of time. And so time here is like the oven that actually bakes the cake. And so you find that given enough time, the knowledge that you acquire is going to accumulate to provide you value. And because of that value, and the higher the value is, the more monetary value you can acquire. So what does that mean? That means that you can be able to charge more for the value that you've developed over the years. Now, so the equation, how it makes sense. I hope it makes sense to at least the two kind of the main ingredients of that equation, whereby knowledge, so you have the knowledge, the information that you acquire, and then given enough time, as you continue to test it out, find out how useful it is, find out how practical, how effective, how efficient it is, come up with even more efficient ways of executing a certain using a certain information to solve a certain particular problem. And you can sum up all that as an experience or application, and then you can allows you to find out what works, what doesn't work. It gives you understanding. And even though it takes you a lot of time initially to acquire that knowledge, it will take even less time to use that knowledge to solve a particular problem. And that in itself is what comes up to be as value. However, we need to go deeper as value, because that doesn't really do it quite the justice. And so you need to understand one of the very basic principles of value is that it's not about being a library of information. Okay, others the libraries that we have are going to be the richest, and that people go to the libraries are going to be the richest people we know on this earth. So it's not just about being a library, but the skillful application of knowledge, like we mentioned earlier, and experiences. But then the skillful application here, that means it is being used to solve a particular problem. So the skillful application of knowledge and experience to solve a problem. Now, being able to pinpoint and solve a problem very quickly, that is what knowledge plus time allows you. You see, the reason why you go to a general practitioner or a doctor when you're ill, and it doesn't take you 7 years to get a diagnosis, because the guy studied for 7 years, the guy or the girl studied for 7 years, and that gave him the necessary knowledge and the practical. And as he continued to apply that knowledge in those 7 years of study, and he's continued to understand what he was studying, you could able to sit down with him for 5 minutes, and he can tell you, go and run this test and this test and this test, and then you can find out, and he can tell you, oh, you have you have malaria, or you have another particular ailment or illness. And it only takes him like maybe less than an hour to figure out what it is wrong with you. And so that is what the skillful application of knowledge and experience does. It allows you to solve problems very quickly, to pinpoint and solve problems very quickly. And this is one of the reasons why you become or you have value, or makes you valuable. The other thing is that the knowledge plus time does, or value does, is it gives you epiphanies about a problem. And so you find yourself, using the example of a doctor, you find yourself, okay, so you have a stomachache or a stomach upset. You went to the doctor, and then you told him this, and then he told you, oh, so you see, when you ate this thing yesterday, what happens is it wasn't washed properly, or you didn't cook it properly, or you didn't cook it properly. And so what happens is the bacteria there kind of reacted with the bacteria in your body, and then around for an overgrowth and whatnot, and then there was a reaction, and then you had diarrhea or whatever it is. And so you see, it gives you an epiphany whereby you can know, okay, so this is where I made the mistake, and if you can correct it next time, you can avoid the problem. So it gives people an epiphanies about their problem. And I think that value does is it gives you a different angle or perception towards a problem or situation. So the same way the value that I'm giving you right now with this information allows you to it gives you a different lens to which to look at the problem of your lack of purpose, or your lack of vision, or your lack of being somebody in your life. That it shows you can be able to find out what exactly it gives you a different angle of perception towards a problem or situation. So when you look at things this way, for instance, as I'm talking about knowledge plus time is equals to value, you find that you haven't spent enough time acquiring knowledge, and you haven't invested in yourself to develop or to acquire knowledge, and you haven't spent enough time acquiring that knowledge to be able to be valuable in the market. Because what happens is, when you're valuable in the market, money will generally come to you, but you have the prerequisite here is that you have to be valuable. And so what it does, it gives you a different angle of perception towards a problem or a situation. And so the same way you kind of when you talk to a coach or a professor or somebody else, they look at a problem differently based on their own experiences. Basically, like when you ask your dad or your mom how they handled this situation, they tell you, because of this and this and this, I did this and this. And so it allows you to look at things different. So you get a new perspective or a new lens to look at a situation. The other thing that value does, it offers understanding, and one of the products of understanding is wisdom on how to fix a particular problem. So knowing exactly what the problem is isn't enough, but when you have value, what it does, it allows you and opens your eyes to see how you can go about fixing the problem. And so by now, even as you listen to this episode, you should be able to know exactly where your problem is, like I did, and you can be able to develop yourself in that specific area, and you know how and specifically where to take action to change your current situation and have an impact on the lives of others. And so you find that one of the other things, one of the other benefits, one of the other things about value is that it allows you to break down false beliefs and patterns. And this is something that I learned a while ago, especially when it comes to the area of business. And, one of the main misconceptions that I had was that when it comes to business, like on the first business I started, I was doing, most of you guys know I was doing SEO for an e-commerce client. And so one of the things that happened at that time was that I was focused so much on learning and doing everything inside of the business, I ended up losing that business. And I didn't understand exactly where I went wrong until I don't remember when exactly. Yeah, I think it was on the One Funnel Away challenge, but I learned that it's not about the who, it's not about the how, but the who. And so you find that in your business, you will never be able to, as I found out that I wasn't able to grow because I was the one who was wearing all the caps in the business. I was the accountant, I was the one who was following through the sales and the invoices, I was the one who was doing the SEO, and I was the one who was getting clients and everything. And I was the one who was studying about SEO at the same time. So I was wearing all these different hats, and I would find myself sleeping at odd hours in the day, maybe for a couple of hours, at least maybe like 5 hours at most in a day, because the rest of the time I'm studying and I'm applying and I'm doing this and that and this and this and that. And so you find that I didn't even have time to get more clients. So my business was already dead from the beginning. It was only when that knowledge came and when Russell was talking about it's about the how, not the who. That is the value that I got, and it allowed me to see things differently. And it allowed me to see where the problem was, where I became the bottleneck in my own business. And so the secret there was, it broke down the false beliefs that I had, the false beliefs and patterns that I had. I believed that I had to be the one to do everything because I had this desire to be perfect in everything, that everything had to be done just right. Which is true, they have to be done just right, but you don't have to be the one to do it just right. The best thing is to hire other people to do it. That way you can have more time getting more clients, and your business can be growing instead of being stagnant because you're working inside of the business and not working on the business. And so this is one of the things that I found out that value is. It allows you to break down false beliefs and patterns. The other thing that I found that value does is does not only give you the options of what to do, it also helps you find the best option. And so it wasn't enough just to tell me that, okay, so your problem was you're doing everything inside of the business. It wasn't enough just to tell me that the solution here, the best recommendation here was to find out the who. So who was I going to find to do this thing or this part of this specific area of SEO? Maybe I was going to find somebody for creating backlinks, or doing for off-page SEO, for doing on-page SEO, for doing technical SEO. And so I should have hired people to do those different areas, and I would have more free time to actually go and chase other clients. And so it's not about, value doesn't only just give you different kind of options, it allows you to narrow down on the best option to help your particular situation. And that's how you become valuable. The other thing about value is it allows you to change mindsets and mental barriers that allows you to effect change. And so you find that one of the things that hit me really hard this year was finding out that the reason why people don't take action is because of a lack of understanding. You see, understanding, one of the benefits of understanding, it gives life to something. It's like water. When you plant a seed in the garden, you have to water it. That is what it gives it life. And so understanding gives people life. So once you understand the problem and what you need to do about it, that understanding gives you the wisdom what to do about it. And that understanding allows you to take action. And so without understanding, you find that most people don't take action. That's why you've bought so many courses, myself included, I've bought so many courses that I've never done any of it because there was a lack of understanding. It's only when I decided to actually chase this understanding that I actually began this podcast or this episode to actually begin to do this. And so you find that one of the benefits of value is that it allows you to change mindsets and mental barriers that are affecting change. And so it's only when you know what the obstacle is that can you overcome it. So you find that people who are doing the steeplechase runs, they all have obstacles that they have to kind of overcome. But if they were blind, they couldn't overcome neither of those obstacles because they can't see it. Even though their eyes they're blinded right now, maybe they're wearing a blindfold and they're looking in front, they cannot see the obstacles ahead of them. So even though they can run as fast as they can, what happens is the first obstacle they hit, they'll fall down and they won't be able to wake up for a while because it's going to be hurt. It's going to hurt them quite a bit. And so it's only until they're able to find out the obstacles that are along the way and the value that you get as you develop yourself in terms of knowledge and you give yourself enough time, it allows you to change the mindsets and the mental barriers that are preventing the change that people need that to be able to impact the change of other people's lives. And so this is what I'm doing here by investing myself in the knowledge and giving myself enough time to actually acquire this understanding. I can share with you guys the things that I've found that have worked for me and the reasons why I found myself being unable to actually move forward, even though I know that I ought to move forward. And so that's what happens. So you have knowledge and you have time. You have knowledge plus time that provides value. And this value now can be quantified. It can be exchanged for currency. And that can be dollars or pounds or shillings or whatever it is you're coming from. This is the value that people pay for. And so you have to develop yourself in terms of knowledge, invest in knowledge, give yourself enough time, and then you can provide value. And that is how you can be able to start impacting the lives of other people. And as you impact the lives of other people, they'll be able to pay you money because of the things that you're doing. And so that's it. And so you have to remember, so the main takeaway from this episode is that knowledge plus time, that is what provides value. And that value can be exchanged for currency or for money. And so you find that, as you study, as you pursue what you love and what you're passionate about, and as you continue to study what you love and what you're passionate about, and give yourself enough time, you find out by the end of this year, you'll probably be making a lot more money than you would if you hadn't begun the journey. And so that is the whole point of this one. So you find knowledge plus time is equals to value. And actually, I'm thinking that one of those pillars that I was talking about of expectation should be, instead of knowledge, should be value. Okay? All right, so that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And be sure to leave a comment to leave a comment below. And let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear if you found this, what I'm sharing, anyway, useful in your life. And I hope it has helped you in one way or another. If there's something that I've missed out, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.